Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Janice Lo. Here's a look at tonight's top stories.
Hong Kong has returned to the world's center stage.
John Lee says the city is a superhighway in the Belt and Road Initiative. Devastating floods in Libya killed more than 5,300 people in Derna, the worst-hit city. And China says it has not banned the purchase or use of foreign smartphones. Chief Executive John Lee says Hong Kong has become a Belt and Road superhighway. This comes as a summit in the city attracted a record number of participants, including senior government officials. A record 6,000 participants from 70 countries and regions gathered for the Belt and Road Summit at the Convention and Exhibition Center this morning. It's the 8th edition of the forum, but the first face-to-face session since COVID. The number of senior government officials present and memorandums of understanding signed were new highs.
These record-breaking numbers are clear and compelling confirmation that Hong Kong has returned to the world's center stage.
Lee said by contributing to business development and promoting international exchanges, Hong Kong has become a Belt and Road superhighway.
Hong Kong is an important conduit between mainland China and the world. We are expanding our cooperation with Belt and Road partners in a wide range of areas, from trade and investment, innovation and technology, to infrastructure development, and many more.
Liaison Office Director Zheng Yanxiong noted that the United States has complained about Belt and Road, but pointed out that Washington gained during the days of the Maritime Silk Road and continues to benefit from the current initiative.
美国今天应该更加珍惜“一带一路”
Instead of being picky, the U.S. should treasure the opportunities that the initiative brings to the world, Zheng said. He warned that those who threaten Belt and Road would only be harming themselves. Slope stabilization work has continued at Red Hill Peninsula and Tai Tam after a landslide exposed illegal structures in luxury homes. 3 houses were affected by last week's landslide. The soil under house number 72 in the middle gave way. Workers placed concrete under the house to stabilize it. Scaffolding was erected around number 70 on the left. The buildings department applied for a court warrant today to get complete access to number 74 and conduct an inspection. Yesterday, its owner refused to allow inspectors to check areas which were allegedly built without authorization. Hundreds of people have applied for emergency relief funds for losses incurred during the recent rainstorm and super typhoon. But some people said the subsidies may not be enough. Macy Mok reports.
Even before the North District government offices in Van Lang opened its doors, several people whose homes were damaged in the recent floods were waiting to apply for emergency relief funds. Those affected by the city's worst rainstorm in a decade and a super typhoon could apply for 5 types of subsidies in government and rural committee offices. This man, surnamed Chan, hopes to buy new furniture to replace his mold-covered bed and set of drawers. But he believes that the grant would not be able to cover a replacement for his bed that cost him over $10,000. According to the Lands Department, Chan, who lives in a household of 4, might be eligible to receive $9,110 as it was his furniture and not his house that was damaged. A single person could get a grant of $3,690. The government is also offering emergency relief for families who suffered injury or death, as well as providing funds to repair boats and for loss of crops and livestock. In addition, Flood victims can also get up to $12,000 from the General Chinese Charities Fund and Special Aid Fund. More than 400 people have already applied. A beekeeper in Lam Chun village approached the government office in Taipo for a subsidy. He estimates his losses to be $100,000 after the rainstorm washed away his bees and flooded his home. Temporary help desks were only available until today, but subsidy applicants can go to government offices from tomorrow. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Overseas, the death toll in the floods that have devastated eastern Libya has climbed to an estimated 6,000 in the city of Derna alone. The destruction is so severe that the two rival governments in the North African country reportedly set aside their differences to focus on saving lives. Sachin Kadri reports.
Rescue teams worked hard to recover bodies scattered across the Libyan city of Derna, which was almost wiped out after a deadly storm triggered floods. The flooding worsened when two dams burst, releasing a massive volume of water which destroyed everything in its path. Vehicles were tossed aside and entire neighborhoods were wiped out. There are fears that the death toll in Derna will rise sharply as 10,000 people are reported missing. Mass burials have been held for the bodies found so far. Emergency workers carried those they could find to safety as the water level reached more than 3 meters in many areas. In Morocco, the chances of finding survivors trapped under the rubble in the Atlas Mountains are fading following last week's powerful earthquake. The death toll has climbed to nearly 3,000 as the relief effort gathers momentum. Food is gradually making its way to remote areas. Sachin Kadri, HKIBC.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has pledged his full and unconditional support for Russia. Kim is now said to be on his way home in his bulletproof train after meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin. As the conflict between Russia and Ukraine continued, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said the Kremlin will always have Pyongyang's full and unconditional support. Kim made the pledge during a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin at the Vostochny Cosmodrome in the Far East. Russia is waging a just fight to defend its sovereignty and security interests, Kim told his host, adding that Moscow is conducting a sacred fight. Kim began the day by visiting the remote rocket launch facility. Putin said he was very glad to meet the North Korean leader, noting that this year marks the 75th anniversary of diplomatic ties between the two countries. Their talks were considered to be a win-win situation for both sides. The West has been speculating that Kim will replenish Russia's weapons supply as the war with Ukraine drags on after 18 months. North Korea, on the other hand, would welcome financial aid and military technology from Moscow. On the day of the talks, Pyongyang launched 2 ballistic missiles. Japan said the missiles landed in the sea and caused no damage. At least 30 people have been killed in a fire that engulfed a residential building in the Vietnamese capital, Hanoi. The blaze in the 9-story building broke out just after midnight and was doused after 2 hours. Firefighters rushed more than 70 people to hospital, where many of them were declared dead. 3 children were among the fatalities. Neighbors said the building had no escape route, and some residents jumped from the upper floors to try and save themselves. Luckily, again, a 10-year-old boy was arrested last night in connection with the watch store robbery in Chim Sha Tsui on Monday. Today, police reportedly detained a 14-year-old boy who could be the 4th person involved in the daring daylight heist on Canton Road. A 19-year-old who was arrested on Monday was taken to the watch shop this afternoon for investigations. Also on Monday, police nabbed a 17-year-old boy for misleading officers. 20 watches worth $3.7 million were stolen, but all were recovered in a backpack in the woods of Kowloon Peak. Hong Kong welcomed 4.1 million visitors last month, a 14% jump from July. Most of the arrivals in August were from the mainland, with many tourists taking advantage of the summer peak season. The figure represents about 84% of the average number of tourists in pre-COVID times. The tourism board says the industry is recovering steadily. During the first 8 months of the year, the SAR opened its doors to over 20 million travelers. China has clarified that it has not banned the purchase or use of foreign smartphones. The Foreign Ministry statement came just hours after Apple released its new iPhone 15 lineup. Chloe Feng reports.
Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning has responded to reports that Beijing has banned iPhone usage among its state-owned agency staff. China has not issued laws, regulations, or policy documents that prohibit the purchase and use of foreign brand phones such as Apple's, she said. But Mao said Beijing attaches a great importance to cybersecurity and noticed security incidents related to Apple phones. Just hours earlier, the U.S. tech giant launched its new iPhone 15 lineup. The gadgets include a new titanium shell and advanced camera, and has been described as Apple's biggest upgrades in years.
With the new A17 Pro, the fastest chip ever in a smartphone, a customizable action button, and our most pro camera system yet, featuring a 5x telephoto camera. These are the best and most capable iPhones we've ever made.
One feature in the latest series is the 3nm A17 Pro chip, the first of its kind, and is Apple's fastest in-house smartphone processor. Another feature is the new USB-C port, which could irk some users accustomed to the previous Lightning charging port. The switch was made to cater to European Union usage. Separately, France has ordered Apple to halt iPhone 12 sales, saying it emits too much electromagnetic radiation. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index ended the day down by 16 points. To the top 10 active stock, Tencent lost $1.80, Alibaba lost 75 cents, while AIA gained 50 cents. Meituan lost $1.70, Country Garden gained 3 cents, while CNOOC gained 2 cents. On to the weather now. It will be mainly cloudy with a few showers tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 26 and 29 degrees. The unsettled weather will continue into the weekend. That's our main news for Wednesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Janice Lo. Thanks for watching and good night.